get ready. Y'all ready?
Come on, guys. Back.
Just jammed in here.
Give me that crowbar back.
Where's that? Sure.
Get that big crowbar in.
Right here.
I got it. Watch out.
Are you okay?
Grab what? Go.
You have any weapons?
Just a girl.
How are you, honey?
This is
bolt cutters.
This is our best. He's a paramedic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get you out of there. Okay.
There's several bodies dead and buried out here, and he says that the dogs will be ruined if they go looking because there's red pepper.
We're gonna step you out, sweet. Because there's what?
Red pepper.
Okay.
Tell the dog people that.
He says
No,
there's pepper everywhere around the car. The car's supposedly in a...
Hello and welcome to ASMR and Crime, and this is the disturbing case of Todd Christopher Kohlhepp, who is now 53 years old. His first victim was a 14-year-old girl who he kidnapped, brought her back to his house, tied her up, taped her mouth shut, and proceeded to rape her. Threatened her with a .22 caliber revolver to keep her mouth shut. On November the 3rd, authorities found his last victim, Kayla Brown, chained to the wall inside a metal storage container on his property. She luckily survived. He was convicted of the murder of 7 people over the period of 13 years. In his own words, he claims to have killed many more. They finally caught him and arrested him in his own house. When the detectives confronted Todd with the woman who he held captive inside a locked metal container with a chain around her neck and handcuffed to the wall, he responded by giving the police a very chilling answer. He said, "I have never done anything to anybody who didn't have it coming." So as you see in the picture, this is Kayla, the woman who was chained. So now the question remains, how could a man turn into a serial killer? We must dive deep into his childhood to see if we can find any trace of what might have sparked him into doing these deeds. I have constructed a timeline to see how it all developed. Let's start by the ages of 0 to 5 years old. He was born on March the 7th in 1971. His parents got divorced when he was 2 years old, and he was left to live with his mother. She then married another man and was raised by both of them. Could it be true that herein lies the first clue of how his mind molded into one of a mass killer? The relationship, or rather no relationship, he had with his stepfather was a real burden in his way of seeing life as a place of joy and beauty. He might have developed a grudge towards his stepfather for being in the way of having a relationship with his biological father. He then often said he wanted to live with him, but none of this ever led anywhere. His biological father was not there for him, and he didn't see him in 8 years. At such an age, he missed the most important time of his son's life, in which he might have made a difference in how he views the world. Or maybe the divorce of the parents made him think that the world is cruel and evil, so he might as well become that, evil. We then proceed to his later years from 5 to 18. At nursery school, he was described as a real troublemaker, filled with the rage and aggression. He never could have made real friendships. Only a select few could be in his presence without making him snap. Every time, when he wanted to become friendly and play with the other kids, something would always happen and he would just snap, making other kids scared of him and not really want to be around him or be his friend. This, of course, affected his psychology even further and shaped his view of the world as a malicious place. More and more we start to see that this has started to build up from a very young age, and when a character is developed, it is very hard to change. Todd's father later described his son as being a pit of anger and madness. He also had another thing in his mind that he could not let go and grow into a healthy way of expression. Once he started to develop more and more into a teen, he developed his sexuality also. We can all agree it is healthy to engage in sexual activity of all kinds, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone and is consensual. Well, he didn't hurt anyone at this point in his life, but he started to develop a very strong and intense longing for watching pornography and self-pleasuring. He even got caught later on in his life watching pornography while at work, but more of that will follow. Remember this point, because it will come back later on in a very big way. His parents were very aware of this problem concerning his anger. How could they not be? And tried to help him and sent him into a psychiatric hospital as an inpatient because of his inability to get along with other children. Well, at 1983, he is now 12 years old. He finally got what he wanted for so long. He could now live with his biological father and leave his stepfather, who he hated at this point. Maybe this would change him into a more friendly person and could deliver him from all the evil in his mind. This is harboring more and more energy every day. We now know that this will build up to a momentum, of which there is no turning back. But none of this is the case. It did not make the situation better. It actually made it a lot worse. His father, though, loving at times, that is of course the time when he is not with one of his girlfriends hanging out, he did not help him to get better in dealing with his anger. No, better yet, he gave him a tool in dealing with his anger. And how to use his anger and make something happen is weapons. His father loved collecting weapons, and that is what had developed into a hobby for him. Todd, of course, was very impressed and joined in this new adventure in his life. He loved it a lot. Later, when the police reached his house, they have found a significant amount of weapons and attributes to make his own bombs, for example. So you see how this aggression started to take different forms. But of course at this point he's not using those weapons other than a trophy for collectors. His biological father was a kind of womanizer that had multiple girlfriends and no real time for his son. When he was away to be with one of his girls, he was left to his own devices. This was from the age of 12, which is of course a very important development age to make him grow into a healthy adult. But if there is no one around, he is left with his own mind. So it becomes a coping mechanism for the mind. But Todd, on the other hand, did have those desires that acted out in real life. His feelings and emotions of violence he did not seem to control. We go on further to November 25th, 1986. So then his first victim was a 14-year-old girl who he threatened with a .22 caliber revolver. He brought her back to his house, tied her up, taped her mouth shut and raped her. Afterwards he walked her home and threatened to kill her entire family if she told anyone about what had happened. Kohlhepp was charged with kidnapping, sexual assault, and committing a dangerous crime against children. When questioned about the crime, Kohlhepp told the probation officer that he wasn't sure why he raped the girl, but it could have been an act of rebellion because his father was out of town. According to the records, of course. He said the gun did not work. He also said He used the knife that threatened her after he had placed the gun back where he found it. When questioned how he thinks his offense has affected the victim, he responded, "I have messed up myself too." A probation officer has reported this. And then Kohlhepp told the officer, according to the records of course, while he knew that what he did was wrong, he said he thought the girl was 16 at the time. He said he thought a 15-year sentence would be unfair. He wanted 12 years or less because he said that would allow him to get a job in the military. This is all according to the pre-sentence report. As you can clearly see from this response, he has no remorse for his actions and only thinks about how this situation affects him and what he can get out of it. Also, according to the records, his mother submitted a letter after this incident saying, while the crime was wrong, he is not a bad boy. She pointed to the fact that he walked the girl home after the assault. "Does that sound like a dangerous criminal?" she said. We go on further. Speed forward to March 27, 1987. Mental health evaluation, and according to a physiological evaluation, Kohlhepp described his attitude towards himself as very negative. He repeatedly asked himself, "Why do I do things like this?" He saw himself as a bad person. He said he feels badly because he feels that he can hurt people. He spent 15 years in prison and was registered as a sex offender. This all happened a few months later in October 1987. Having a serious problem with anger, he also was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. This is a simplified explanation of borderline personality disorder. It is a mental illness that severely impacts a person's ability to manage their emotions. Their loss of emotional control can increase, and impulsivity affect how a person feels about themselves and negatively impact their relationships with others. Effective treatments are available that can help people manage the symptoms of borderline personality disorder. But of course, to proceed, not everyone with borderline is dangerous, but he certainly became a very, very dangerous individual. August 2001, Kohlhepp was released from prison after serving the 15-year sentence while in prison. He then graduated from his Central Arizona College with a bachelor's degree in computer science. While in prison, he then managed to get the degree. We speed forward to January 2002. In June 2006, about 3 weeks after applying, he became a licensed real estate agent about 3 weeks after he applied and became very successful at that. A customer once said, he came across as very professional, but on the other hand, while being able to put on a facade of normalcy and even being professional, he could not help himself to watch pornographic videos at work. A co-worker later said in an interview that he caught him multiple times watching porn. At work, to female employees, he was very condescending, angry, and intimidating. In November 6, 2003, he shot 4 people inside a motorcycle store in Chesney. All 4 died from multiple gunshot wounds. He, before Kohlhepp, confessed to the shootings in 2016. According to Ponder's wife, Kohlhepp was this disgruntled customer who had been in the shop several times. According to his mother, he attempted to return a motorcycle there, but the employees laughed at him. August 31, 2016, Kayla Brown and her boyfriend, Charles David Carver, went missing after they went to remove brush from one of Kohlhepp's properties. Carver was later found dead of multiple gunshot wounds. on the property. Interest in the disappearance of Brown Carver increased as a result of posts of Carver's Facebook account following their disappearance, the unusual nature of which prompted speculation that another party had taken control of his Facebook account. On November 3, 2016, authorities found Miss Brown chained to the wall inside a metal storage container on the property. Investigators had tracked her down after tracing the couple's last known cell phone signals, after which they heard banging noises coming from inside the container. A search of Kohlhepp's property recovered Carver's vehicle, which is the boyfriend of Kayla, was found inside the container, and he was found in a ravine covered in brush. According to Brown, she witnessed Carver being shot by Kohlhepp. Kohlhepp's mother claimed Carver was killed for having a really smart mouth, which Kohlhepp did not like. He also said he kept Brown captive because she did not do anything wrong, and he did not want to hurt her. However, Brown stated to police just after her rescue that Kohlhepp had killed Carver because Kohlhepp was mad at her. During her captivity, Brown was raped repeatedly and intimidated into not escaping after having been shown the grave of Kohlhepp's other victims. 2 more bodies were discovered on Kohlhepp's property following his arrest on November 6th and 7th. Kohlhepp was arrested shortly after Brown's rescue. He later confessed to the Chesney shootings and the murders of the Coxes in exchange for allowing him to talk to his mother, give her a photograph, and transfer money to the college fund of a friend's child. While meeting with his mother, he reportedly confessed to the killings and kidnappings. When he confessed to the Chesney shootings, Kohlhepp revealed details of the killings that were never released to the public. A search of Kohlhepp's property also uncovered numerous weapons, including a 6mm pistol, outfitted with suppressors, semi-automatic rifles, and an undetermined amount of ammunition. But because there was no record of background check under Kohlhepp's name for the purchase of the firearm, investigators believed he likely acquired the weapons illegally. Following Kohlhepp's arrest, authorities in Spartanburg County discovered a number of seemingly joking product reviews for various items, such as padlocks, shovels, tasers, and gun accessories on retail website Amazon.com. It was written by a user simply known as Me. One review about a padlock stated, "Solid locks, I have 5 on a shipping container. Won't stop them, but sure will slow them down till they are too old to care." Another, written for a folding shovel, read, "Keep in car for when you have to hide the bodies and you left the full-size shovel at home. Does not come with a midget, which would have been nice." The reviewer's wishlist page was listed as Todd Kohlhepp himself. In November 2017, Kohlhepp wrote to the Spartanburg Herald-Journal, claiming that he had more victims whom have not been discovered. He is currently serving a life imprisonment without parole. So if you like this video, you can support the channel by leaving a like. It is a very simple way.